Hello, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here. And I hope what we talk about today will give you some sense of what FutureLearn is trying to do with its partner institutions in addressing this really challenging and difficult agenda. I think what I want to pick up on more than anything else is what Matt was talking about there, about doing things in collaboration. And that's really something we want to emphasize during the course of this discussion that we'll have with my colleagues, Nikki and Mel. What we want to focus on really is how online learning can be highly effective in addressing the challenge of moving towards a green economy. We know that institutions are playing significant roles themselves in setting challenging targets for their own activities in terms of net carbon activities and so forth. But it's really about the core areas of research and education that we want to talk about today. It's how do we help shape what goes on in the world through the knowledge that we create, and how do we develop the skills that will help us move towards that green economy. And that's the challenge that we're setting ourselves at FutureLearn and working in collaboration across the globe with a range of institutions to try and address it. But how can this work? How can we meet that challenge? Well, really what we want to reflect on is that much of the skills development here is going to have to be in areas where people are thinking about skills as and when they need them, doing it in small chunks of activity, thinking differently about the way they engage in their learning from the more traditional full-time face-to-face education. How can we develop the high demand skills that people need, where they need them and when they need them? Online offers the opportunity to do that in a way that the more traditional models can't do. And secondly, how can we get more voices involved in this? We need to recognize that this is a global problem and that we need to hear from those people most affected by climate change, who are often marginalized in this debate and don't get a chance to raise their voice and have it heard. Online offers an opportunity for that and to share the experiences, to share the knowledge, and therefore to have a better understanding of what we can do to try and address it. So FutureLearn is really focused on this. And what we're trying to do is to think about the ways in which we can work together in collaboration to address it. So what we're doing as a company is bringing together leading expert voices to share knowledge so that we can help build the skills that are needed and are necessary for this transition to a green economy. FutureLearn is one of the world's leading social learning platforms, backed by the Seek Group and the Open University, with over 17 million learners across the globe. The vast majority of those learners are between 26 and 45, reflecting that many people are engaging in their learning in very different ways and at different stages of their career and lives. What we want to do is to create a comprehensive climate curriculum in one place, and that's really what we're doing. And we've started this process for COP26. What we've actually done is we've got 100 courses already on our COP26 site, but it's not about COP26. This is a long-term vision and a long-term goal. And we hope to bring more courses on through time. We're thinking about January when we have the World Economic Forum. We're also thinking about Earth Day in April. There are ways in which we can grow this as a long-term project. This is not something that is about a fixed point in time. It's about a long-term project to develop those skills and to think differently about what we're doing. However, as Matt said, what we are interested in is doing this in collaboration and working with partners to create the opportunities for people to engage in learning in very different ways. This might be little chunks of learning. It might be freemium courses. It might be micro-credential courses. Whatever it is, it's the need of the learner that drives what we're trying to do, and in the space that they need it when they need it. That's what we're trying to do. And what we're going to do now is to open up with my colleagues, Nikki and Mel, and to talk about their experiences in being involved in this initiative and how it's helped them, not just in their own activities, but also in their university's activities as well, in addressing this particularly challenging agenda. So what I'm going to ask them to do is to introduce themselves, which is the first thing, and then to say why they got involved with this initiative with FutureLearn. So Nikki, can I hand over to you?
Thank you, Wyn. Hello, everybody. I'm delighted to be here. So I'm the online courses program manager for the University of Reading. I lead a small expert learning design and course production team who collaborate with experts across our university and Henley Business School to create online courses. Just to give a bit of context, we're one of the oldest or original partners on FutureLearn. So we've been producing courses since 2014. I think we've produced over 40 to date. Our external courses have reached getting very close to 1.5 million people across the world. We're very proud of that. And we also we use those external courses for a number of different reasons to reach various target audiences, to deliver the skills and the knowledge that Wim was talking about. It's very tailored. These are high quality courses. We use some of our external courses as blended learning courses for our campus-based students. And we also develop closed courses to support our students pre-entry, to prepare them for their academic experiences in higher education, to make sure they succeed whilst they're with us, and also to progress on to the next step of their career. I guess from our perspective at Reading, we are one of the world's leading climate research centres. Just to give you a few fun facts, we've been contributing to understanding climate change for the last 30 years. We're very proud of the experts the Reading-based experts who've contributed to this and to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. I think this year we have 6 lead authors from Reading who have contributed to the latest IPCC report, which I think is one of the most contributors from universities in the UK. And I guess we're home to Professor Ed Hawkins, who's a Reading and National Centre of Atmospheric Science professor, who created the climate strike visualization, which I think everybody in the world has probably seen by now, which helps to illustrate the problems that are facing us with global warming. And I think FutureLearn, the climate action initiative really chimes with Reading. The argument for climate change has been agreed, and now Reading University and universities across the world are really focusing on looking at the impact of climate change and looking into what we can do to help solve this really complex problem. So we have our interdisciplinary research centre, the Walker Institute, looking at how to provide solutions, economic, political, technological and societal solutions to create resilient societies. And we have academics working across our university in multiple different areas, looking at how we can address this terrible problem that's impacting every aspect of our life, our health, mental health, food, agriculture, just everything. So for us, and part of that mission is to share what we know about climate, what we're learning, what we're finding out with people that need it most. And for us, FutureLearn, with its global reach and the high quality learning experience we can deliver, is a really important way that we think we can help share what we've done. So that's that.
Thanks, Nikki. That's lovely. Thank you so much. And we'll come back on some of those themes that you touched on already. So Mel, to you.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'm Professor Mel Woods. I'm Chair of Creative Intelligence at the University of Dundee. Again, as well, delighted to be here. Thank you. So I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum, I guess, in that I'm an education leader on one of the current courses. So I'm here in a different capacity, representing not only myself, but colleagues who've already been involved and are pledging to become involved in the future. So again, University of Dundee has a long track record in being involved, and many of the programs we've authored in the past have been to do with action. So we've got an antimicrobial stewardship program that is around training people globally on how to tackle some of the issues that we see in life sciences. We have a forensic science, very celebrated early forensic science FutureLearn course that was all based around a Val McDermid science model, a novel, and really played into the kind of true crime genre for people going out and investigating crime and gathering that kind of data, which we all know is extremely popular. And more recently, in the past 6 or 7 years, I personally have been involved in leading environmental programs around citizen science and citizen observatories in particular, embedding our courses in actual research and training the participants that we're working with live and on the ground, and with cutting edge content that's coming out of research. So namely the H2020 project, the Grow Observatory and the We Observe programme on citizen science and how you make a difference in the world right now. So it's very much kind of action research. I think from, we really want to continue with that journey and do more of that. And we see in particular these kinds of social peer-to-peer ways of learning being extremely important in bringing the global audience around key issues related to climate change and the action we all need to take. So in terms of the university, this really chimes with the positive transformation that the University of Dundee ascribes to it. It brings together our strategic goals, which are around social purpose, around true inclusion, just transitions and sustainability. And it speaks to the city of Dundee. Many of you may have heard that the city itself is experiencing its own transformation. It's been designated City of Design, and we really ascribe to design thinking. It's at the heart of working and co-creating with others. And we've got our Centre for Water Policy and Law as well. And so the use of the city itself is really transforming from its industrial heritage to the new cultural and environmentally aware place that we all want to move to, with, for instance, the new Eden project coming to Dundee, for instance. So really, I think this is an absolutely excellent time, ourselves as an institution, ourselves as a city, to really embed these innovative learning programs, climate action courses, and bring the opportunity to work together with research and bringing that cutting edge research in bite-sized chunks, as you talked about, to new audiences. Yeah, and I'll hand back over to yourself.
That's thank you. That's really helpful. Give the context, hopefully, for colleagues listening. So just to pick up on that, Mel, and we'll develop this with Nikki as well. What would be really helpful is to get a sense of how you see the online learning really helping to close the skills gap, if you like, in the green economy. Particularly there, you talked about how Dundee's transitioning, and in a sense, that's a sort of a microcosm of what we're trying to do globally, I guess. But how do you see the online learning part helping with that process and helping reduce the skills gap?
Yeah, well, I think we've got to consider the full range of stakeholders in the learning space and the opportunities we've got there, from people who are from young people who I see now are taking FutureLearn courses and bridging the gap between maybe A-level and higher provision here in Scotland and moving into the university space. We see upskilling as a big thing, particularly here in the UK. So we're looking at sort of professional audiences, businesses, industries for continuing education, but even policymakers and globally, we see a real interest in different forms of knowledge. And I think FutureLearn and its very social, very peer-to-peer sort of foundations, I think will and can bring a range of stakeholders into the space, and we can address and focus and target the various types of models of education that FutureLearn support to really bring those new audiences in. I think that's really needed. People want to know what they can do about climate change, and educating themselves in a range of different ways is part of that. So we really see a kind of socially inclusive, value-based, championing, upskilling, developing competencies, leaving no one behind as a thing that we can do. And in the race to net zero, we're working on that with an upcoming project. We've got an upcoming project funded by EPSRC, working with farmers and food production and supply chains. And we'll be embedding some of that learning in a new course that we're developing for release in 2022. So you can see it's very coupled with cutting edge research, I think, from our perspective.
Yeah. That's grand. And Nikki, I guess you'd echo much of that. And I presume as well, sort of the design of how much learning is also important here, as Mel's discussed there around the social learning platform that FutureLearn, or pedagogy that FutureLearn works on. It's the nature of how you shape and actually create that. Presume, could you say something a bit about how Reading's done that and its thinking about what it's put on?
Sure. So all of the courses that we produce very much feed into our university's strategic goals and the strategic goals for the online courses programme. And all of the courses that we produce are very much designed for specific target audiences in mind, and also, you know, sort of thinking about the purpose of those courses. So, for example, you know, sort of picking up on what Mel said, you know, this is an opportunity for us to think about education in new ways for that whole lifelong learning journey. And, you know, in many ways, I see the advantages of this flexible, unbundled learning means that we can sort of think of new ways to sort of help support potential applicants coming into university. So, for example, we've just produced Partnering for the Planet course, which is aimed at university applicant age or young people who know about, are interested in climate change, but just want to know more, want to get some of that kind of core scientific knowledge, basic understanding to enable them to have really good discussions and to feel that they can do something and take action. And, you know, our approach is very much to look at the needs of those audiences, and then to work collaboratively with academics across the universities. In some instances, we're working with organisations, you know, for example, the Royal Meteorological Society have produced a course on understanding weather aimed at geography teachers to sort of help them. And I think with FutureLearn, what it enables us to do is to come up with a course that has a really great self-contained learning journey. So these courses, we can pack so much information into these courses. We can do so much with these courses. You know, people might be surprised, you know, we run this Partnering for the Planet course is a 2-week course, but in that, you know, we've sort of touched on lots of key issues and concepts and ideas. We're pointing people towards authoritative resources so that they can find out more if they want to. And, you know, we're really sort of sharing, as Mel's sort of saying, you know, cutting edge research. You know, this is informed by what all of our experts are getting up to. And we're sort of giving people a snapshot of that. We can sort of build that in, and we do that through collaborative course build workshops using, you know, approved online pedagogical techniques. So they work. You know, we get tremendous feedback. I know Mel's courses get tremendous feedback, and that's really important for us. I would sort of touching on the kind of the lifelong learning as well. We very much see this as an opportunity. For example, Reading is thinking of greening the curriculum for our campus-based students. We already offer an optional module on climate change for all of our students, but we want to sort of think about that a bit more. And, you know, online courses, you know, we can produce short, flexible, really great content that, you know, can help our staff think about how they can embed sustainability across the curriculum. You know, this can produce course content that's helping our students' understanding across any subject areas. So we're really, you know, helping our graduates go into the world with a better understanding of this issue, and so that they're better equipped to deal with it. So we're really kind of preparing those students for the future. And I think also online learning, FutureLearn, it's a great way for us to stay in touch with our alumni. It's a great way for us to add value, think about how we can help them upskill, reskill in critical areas. And by meeting their needs, thinking about the organisations, the industries that they're working in, and what their employers are looking for and what skills they need to master, we can create great content for them, but that's going to be really valuable to other people across the world, you know, in the same areas as well.
Yeah,
so,
that's really interesting. You touched on a number of things there, you know, partnership with industry, how we engage with, you know, the campus-based activity as much as anything else. These are not separate. There's this flow from one to the other, which I think is really important, so that we see this as a continuum of education. And I guess it helps towards the university hitting its own goals around net carbon zero. Is that something you can amplify for us, Mel, in terms of, you know, how Dundee's thinking about this as part of what it's trying to do as it shifts itself as an institution?
Yeah, and thank you. Yeah, I think, well, we were very fortunate this year to be recognised by the Times Higher Impact rating for UN SDG 13, which is climate action. So we're really delighted to be top in that category. There are, of course, specific UID-wide initiatives, as there are probably in Reading as well, the divestment of fossil fuels that we've just managed with the pensions 4 years early, you know, the UN race to zero, universities and college commitments, and those scope 1, 2 and 3 emissions. And we are looking at our curriculum for excellence as well, embedding environmental sustainability perspectives into every single brief. So I work in Duncan of Jordenston College of Art and Design, and you wouldn't have imagined that maybe, but that's where our design thinking sits. And we've even worked recently, student to staff, to design and embed a new reuse hub, taking over one of our college shops and creating a closed loop system for waste in the production of art and design. And so the students are so fired up and involved in that. And we have a number of other initiatives that we're working in partnerships. So that's our physical thing, you know, but the students are also very interested, obviously, and have huge experience now of learning online. And they're looking at that hybrid, great experience on campus, great experience face-to-face, you know, doing something in action, but also these new opportunities that are opening up in that online space as well.
Yeah, and I mean that again is what we're really interested in, is working with that enthusiasm, working with that interest and that knowledge, and presumably Reading's very similar, Nikki, in terms of, you know, how this fits with that wider ambition in net zero.
Yes, yeah, I think sort of mirroring what Mel said, I think the university's been working very hard towards carbon net zero for a long time, you know, physically on campus. So, you know, we've already had 40% reduction in our carbon emissions since 2008. And, you know, we have a sustained programme of activity to engage our staff and students in that. And we're sort of, looking towards new measures to sort of to look at further ways that we can really sort of help the university and work with local, you know, communities and organisations to help us achieve that.
Brilliant. That's wonderful. I'm very conscious we're coming up towards the end of it. I think what I would like to emphasise again is that this is not about one answer. This is not about one solution here or one course that everybody can take. That certainly isn't the case. But it is about thinking about the needs of the learner, as both of you have identified. It is about thinking about how they're going to engage with lots of this material and in ways that meet their needs at their time. And I think that's the real challenge for universities, is thinking about the learner in a very different space from the more traditional ways, and thinking that the reach that online gives makes it so much more fascinating in many ways, that the student base is so much more diverse, and through the social learning aspect is much richer as a consequence. You're bringing experiences from across the globe into the virtual classroom, and I think that's an exciting part. And FutureLearn wants to help with this. I mean, you know, we help fund development of courses, we help support the development of courses as well, because what we want to do is the same thing. We want to work with this very challenging agenda, but to offer ways into it for all people in all places. And that's really what we're trying to do. So if anybody out there would like to be involved, then please do get in touch. Get in touch with me. We have a round table on the 24th around COP, which will be open to anybody. If you'd like to come along and be part of that, that would be great. As I say, we do have some funding to support this activity. And our global team is beyond. We have colleagues from Britain here, of course, but our university partners are right across the globe. And we really do want to see this as a global challenge, but a global solution that we can work together collaboratively on. So thank you very much for listening to us today. And I hope you found that interesting and stimulating. Thanks, Nikki. Thanks, Mel.